Welcome back. The Kolas Calculator 2018 edition is here. Kevin, my name's Gordon. Your name's Kevin.
Correct.
Let's tell these people who's going to NCAAs if they, for some reason, just ended the season right now.
October NCAAs are upon us. A lot of math, Gordon. You're up late.
I mean, we did have kind of like a weird September meet that should have been in October in the Nutty Comb Invitational, so we'll see what happens.
More relevant this year, perhaps, than any year previous, right?
Yes.
Because of that.
Yes. So for those who don't know, let's talk about what is Kolas Calculator. It is the process in which they select the NCAA teams. There are 9 regions. Top 2 in every region get autos. Top 2, you're in. So that's 18 teams. And then there's a few left. There's 13 at-large teams in the mix. And the way they pick them is they take all the 3rd place and 4th place teams in each region, and they see who beat the most teams that are already at the NCAA meet. So if there's 18 teams in the meet, they say, all right, this team beat 5 of them. They have the most, so they're in. And then they go again. And then they go again all the way down till they get to the 31st team. There's different rules about being able to push a team in. There's tiebreaker rules, head-to-head matchups, et cetera, et cetera. It's very complicated. We do our best to try to get it right. Sometimes we're not, but it's complicated.
You made it sound actually pretty easy there, right until the end when you said, and there's other things.
Yeah,
and
it gets
such
hard.
and such.
It gets hard when there's ridiculous tiebreakers. When you go all the way down to the one right before a coin flip. There's no coin flip tiebreaker, but it's like how many teams from the AFC West on a Friday on turf didn't play past 4 p.m. type tiebreakers. Okay, but let's get into it. Let's start with the women.
Here we go.
Okay, now these projections are based off of all the meets that have happened since September 7th. That was the first day of competition. All the meets have happened, and we also predicted the order of regionals.
Okay.
And the way we did that was our national rankings, and then we just made our own regional rankings. So,
Are there any controversial picks in the were any of the regions tough to figure out?
Yeah, a lot of our regional rankings are different from the coaches poll regional rankings because coaches poll rankings aren't as good as the FloTrack rankings. So we make sure we do it right.
Thorough
here.
explanation.
We do it right here in FloTrack. But Kevin, let's start with our projected. This is what we think is going to happen in the top 2 in every region on the women's side. Who do we have here?
So we got, let's see.
Do you know logos?
Well, yeah, the Great Lakes. We got Wisconsin. We got Michigan. Then out of the mountain, you got Colorado and New Mexico. South Central is Arkansas. And is that SMU?
Nice.
SMU. Pony Express there. Mid-Atlantic,
right
we
now.
got Villanova and Penn State. Then when we go to the Northeast, Columbia and Yale. Southeast, NC State and Furman.
Good.
Midwest, those Iowa State Cyclones we're projecting to get in, along with Minnesota. Then in the South, Ole Miss, who we talked a lot about, jumped up the rankings a lot, but we haven't seen them yet we didn't see them at Nutty Comb. I should say that.
Yes.
I was saying any of the big meets, but pretty much Nutty Comb. Also in the South, Georgia Tech, and then out west, the women we're projecting in as top 2 are Boise State and Oregon.
So there you have it. Those teams are in. It's done, signed, sealed, delivered. Amen. They're in. But let's go to, based on our projected order of regional rankings, who has the points right now? And coming in, here are the final 13 teams. Well, there's 12 of them there, but we'll show the 13 team last. All right, coming in first is Indiana.
Yeah, so Indiana comes in. They have 5 wins.
So far.
Yeah, so we're projecting them to get 3rd in the Great Lakes. They got 5 wins so far. 1 came at the Iowa Meet of Champions against Columbia, and then the other 4 at Nutty Comb, where they finished ahead of Iowa State, NC State, Columbia, and Penn State.
And interesting that
Columbia twice.
That win over Columbia at Iowa Meet of Champions was on a tiebreaker. They both scored 30 points, but they got the victory over a tiebreaker. Who would have thought a meet September 15th gets you in? So good up to Indiana Hoosiers. Coming in next, we have Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State, 4 wins. We're projecting them 4th out of the Great Lakes. So already that's 2 teams in from the Great Lakes. They got all their wins at Nutty Comb, like a lot of teams on this list. Iowa State, NC State, Columbia, and Penn State were the teams they beat.
Boom. Next one coming in, Georgetown.
Georgetown. 21. Pushed in by Princeton. Explain that for us.
So this is the first push. So Georgetown does not have any points. But because the team behind them, which is Princeton, has the most points among all the teams that are in the mix, they get to push in Georgetown. And the reason they push in Georgetown is because Princeton has a win over Yale. So think about this. We're already at the 21st and 22nd teams in, and we're already counting 1 wins. So this typically isn't normal that the 22nd team in has only 1 win. Mm-hmm. The reason why it's because we have yet to do pre-nats and we have to do conferences. That's where a lot of people get most of their wins. So the rest of this field all going to have 1 to 0 wins. So it makes you think about This is early, but Princeton pushes in Georgetown because of the win over Yale at the HYP meet, Harvard-Yale-Princeton meet. And then we keep going. BYU is 23.
One win there.
One win over
Furman at the Joe Piani meet in Notre Dame.
Joe Piani meet. Stanford gets in, and they're pushed in, right?
Yeah, 0 wins. They're pushed in by Portland.
Yeah, so that's like a big thing. Stanford is not going to have 0 wins when everything is said and done. They're going to do well at pre-nats. But Stanford gets pushed in. So it hurts the West Regional right now because you only get one push per region. Portland pushes in Stanford. Their win is over
Penn State
at Nuttycombe. 26 is Utah State. Who do they beat?
Utah State, they have no wins.
No
but
win.
we're projecting they're pushed in by Utah.
So look at this. A lot of pushes.
A lot of pushing going on.
Utah pushing in Utah State.
They have one win from Battle in Beantown, where they beat Minnesota.
There you go. Then Dartmouth comes in at number 28.
Man.
Now, this one is when it gets weird. First of all, we had to ignore Florida State because they can get it on their own. Spoiler alert. But they win a tiebreaker over Brown, Penn, Duke, Wake Forest, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Texas, A&M, Southern Utah, Washington, and Georgia. So therefore, Dartmouth gets in.
Long way to say Dartmouth is in right now.
Then we got Georgia from the South, a third South team coming in 29. They have a win over.
Don't have any wins,
No
0
wins.
wins, but again, a lot of
tiebreakers. Tiebreaker wins. And then Southern Utah is the 30th team in.
No wins again.
No wins again. And then, so yeah, this is early. That's what we're trying to get at. A lot of these teams are getting in over tiebreakers with 0 wins. It's not going to be the case 2 weeks from now. Ultimately, not the case, 5 weeks from now. And now let's go to our final team in. I kind of hinted at it. The last team in is the Seminoles.
Florida State, also 0 wins right now. A lot of drama. Brrr,
0 wins and you're in because it's October 4th. So that's what happens. But the first team out, the place you don't want to be, is Brown.
Oof. 0 wins.
They have 0 wins though. So, but again, it's kind of it's an interesting thing we have. A lot of teams with 0 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So this really shows that they should not end the season in October. That's what it shows.
If you're listening out there, people who run NCAA cross country, Gordon thinks you should not end the season now.
2 notable top 25 teams that are not in: Washington women and Notre Dame women.
Right.
Again, that's all because of Washington hasn't really raced anyone yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did, they lost to them. They lost to Boise State, and they lost to Stanford at Stanford Invite. So Washington's team, keep an eye on them. We're not really sure if they ran an A team or B team at both Sun Dodger and Stanford. Because
that will mess things up as well, too.
So they're mixing up with the lineups there. So we'll find that out. But Washington and Notre Dame not in. Things are going to change. Let's keep going. Those are your teams. But now it's time for the men. Regional predictions. Here we go.
Man.
I'm going to hit it. I'm going to go fast.
You're going to go fast? Go
We
ahead.
got Wisconsin, Purdue, NAU, BYU, Arkansas, Texas, Princeton, Georgetown, Syracuse, Iona, Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, Alabama. That's right. We still think Alabama's going to get second in the region.
Okay.
If you didn't see, Middle Tennessee State has opted to redshirt their top 4 guys. Makes that region even more wide open now that they're out of the picture. Alabama, if Vincent Kiprop is healthy and they're able to put just a top 3 together, they should survive out of that region. Portland and Boise State.
Anything controversial here? Anything tough?
No Stanford in the West. We don't think they'll get top 2.
That's a tough region.
It is a tough region. That's why. Iona getting in the Northeast. Normally, Iona's like a strong team, and but they're kind of weak this year. So a lot of teams are going to get a point off Iona from beating them at Nuttycombe and ultimately probably elsewhere. And same with Texas.
Texas
and Iona both finishing low at Nuttycombe is going to help a lot of those teams beat them, especially teams in the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the first team in at number 19 is, tell me.
Colorado, 6 wins, Gordon, all from Nuttycombe. They beat Purdue, Eastern Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Iona, like you just mentioned, Georgetown, and Texas as well.
Let's keep that mountain train rolling. Coming behind them, Colorado State.
Yeah, Colorado State, 7 wins there, but we're projecting them to finish behind Colorado.
So their 7th win is going to be beating the fact that they beat Colorado at Notre Dame.
Okay, right. So Colorado, Purdue, Eastern Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Iona, Georgetown, and Texas are their wins.
Air Force,
man, mountain. That's going to be competitive.
Racking it up.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. They got 7 wins, Colorado, Purdue, Eastern Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Iona, Georgetown, Texas. I almost have those teams memorized now if we do this one more time.
Well, think about this. It's actually good. Like when having a deep region is actually beneficial to make NCAAs because it's worse when it's a weak region where third and you're screwed. Where here when you're in a deep region, seventh and you're fine.
Yeah, a little bit more margin for error and opportunity to pick up points. Southern Utah,
Mountain
again for the Mountain. So that's 6 in for the Mountain. Eastern Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Iona, Georgetown, and Texas.
I'm sick of this.
The Magic 5 teams.
I'm sick of Mountain region right now. Let's go to
the Great Lakes.
Indiana.
Indiana entered on 5 wins, but the tiebreaker would go to Southern Utah. So Iona, Oklahoma State, Georgetown, and Texas.
But they beat Iona twice.
Twice, yeah. Double Iona. Little remix there for Indiana. They're not doing what everybody else is doing.
And the victory over Iona at the Iona Mina Champions is kind of a weak victory because Iona didn't run a true full A squad, but they ran probably enough for their guys that Iona team most likely will be an A. But we'll double check it when we get to the final meet. But right now we think Iona's loss to Indiana is going to be impactful.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Great Lakes.
Yeah, we get Michigan again, 5 wins. Indiana, Oklahoma State, Iona, Georgetown, and Texas, all from Nuttycombe.
Just keep saying those names.
All from Nuttycombe. And then
NC State.
3 wins. So drop off from 5 to 3. NC State, they finished ahead of Iona, Georgetown, and Texas last weekend.
So if you notice, the men's field is kind of different from the women's field. We are already at number 25, and teams still have 3 to 5 wins, where on the women's side, they all had 0 wins at this point in the selection process. Number 26 is?
That's Stanford. No wins right now. Same reason the women, I think, don't have any wins. They haven't run in any really big, deep meets yet. But they're projected to get pushed in by Washington.
Yeah. Who did Washington beat?
Washington's got 2 wins, Mississippi and Virginia, both in Beantown.
Right. So good thing they went out east.
Yeah, picked up 2 wins there. So that's 4 in from the West at that point. And then we go back to the Great Lakes. I'm sensing a trend here. A lot of Great Lakes teams.
Great Lakes and West.
Yeah. Michigan State, 1 win.
Over Texas.
Yeah.
And Texas, you get a point.
Yeah. And they got head-to-head tiebreakers over the 3 teams that we're going to see next, which we see the first right there, Villanova.
Who do they beat?
1 win. They beat Texas.
So you have all the teams that beat Texas, but then you have basically their descending order of how they finish at Nuttycombe.
Exactly. And then 30, Minnesota pushed in, we're guessing, by Tulsa. They won a head-to-head with Penn State, but they don't have any wins right now.
So Tulsa is the last team in. The first team out is where you don't want to be, Penn State.
Penn State, that would be the 4th Mid-Atlantic team. They have beaten Princeton at Spike Shoe. Princeton's interesting because they ran in the B race at Nuttycombe and then ran at Spike Shoe with an A team, but tempo run it basically.
Yep.
Is that
they got like 8th at Spike Shoe Invitational. They lost to like St. Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
So the second or first best team in the Mid-Atlantic region sandbagged an countable event meet, which is going to help teams like Penn State if they can get another win somewhere else. But Princeton just giving out points because they're good enough to just do it.
Yeah, they go all in on the regionals, right? That's the philosophy there.
Yeah, they go all in at regionals basically, and also I talked to actually Coach Vidge in the airport when we were waiting in line to come back from Madison. I was like, "Why'd you run your B team? I'm not your A team in the B race," and he says, "There's no need." He said, "There's no need to go into a hard effort in September with these athletes. His priority is winning the Ivy League championships, and that's all that matters to him." So he's like, I'm not going to sacrifice my training, my routine to try to get points in September or even in October for that matter. Right. They're not running at pre-nats either. My goal is to get them ready for end of October to win Ivy League HEPs and then ride that train into regionals and finish top 2.
Yeah.
So
it's worked for him in the past.
Yeah, he doesn't let the NCAA dictate his terms.
Right. Yeah. Which is, I mean, each team has their own strategy. I think depending on the region too, like sometimes that's going to work and sometimes it's not going to work. But for him in the Mid-Atlantic, we're at least projecting right now that could pay off.
And teams that are not in right now, Oregon,
that's right.
Oregon men, and we did the list. We figured it out.
Jeez, there was one other one that's ranked.
Washington State. So a lot of West teams.
UCLA.
So 3 West teams, all because Stanford blocked teams in by having to get pushed in. And as a result of that, these teams like Oregon, Washington State has a lot of wins. Like if you scroll down, we can tell you Washington State Where's Washington State?
Farther down on the list than they should be, but
Yeah, this is who Washington State has beaten.
Wow,
They've
14.
beaten Eastern Kentucky, Michigan, Indiana, Oklahoma State, NC State, Iona, Georgetown, Michigan State, Villanova, Tulsa, Texas. It's a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So they have so many wins, but the problem is we just have them projected to finish 6th in the West.
Right.
And we have them finishing behind Oregon. And then Oregon has 0 wins. Stanford already gets used in the push, so Washington State can't push in Oregon. And as a result, Washington State's kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
However, Washington State will not be stuck because Stanford's going to get points, which means Washington State will be able to push in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So Washington State should be in, but just because Stanford has refused to race anyone yet, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
But Washington State, right now, if I'm a betting man, will make the meet, but they're not in it right now.
I'm guessing next time we do this, there's going to be a lot of changes.
Yes, a lot of changes. And why? Because they'll be racing at what meet? A meet that's going to be live on FloTrack?
Yeah, pre-nats next Saturday, live on FloTrack, which puts, 9 of the top 10 are going to be there. I mean, most of the top 25 on both men's and women's side will be in Madison to run Nutty Cone back.
And there's going to be 2 races there. There's going to be 1A and 1B, equally seeded races. And you want to know what teams are racing each other. Is BYU going to race NAU, Wisconsin, Stanford? Who's going to race who? There's a committee that is meeting on Sunday afternoon, and they're going to decide. It's a committee that is very there's no
Geographically diverse
and 0
conflicts
of interest.
Oh.
Wisconsin is not.
Do you know
involved.
who's on the committee?
I do know. We'll announce who's on the committee on Monday. We can announce that, but it's a very bipartisan committee, and they're going to make.
You're not on the committee.
I'm not on the committee.
Okay.
I wish I was.
Okay.
They're going to seed the 3 races, and we're going to announce it live here on FloTrack on Monday, 10:30 a.m. Central. We'll announce the matchups that we're going to see at pre-nats. So tune in on Monday, 10:30 a.m. Central. We'll be on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, the internet, and we'll find out. And then ultimately, next Saturday, live on FloTrack, 9 a.m., pre-nationals. 6 races going down. It's going to be great.
Back in Madison. I'm excited.
Back in Madison.
And then more calculations for
More
you.
calculations. So thanks for tuning in. We'll update Kolas after pre-nats. We'll update you who's running at pre-nats on Monday. And then I think Lincoln is coming up next with some D2, D3 Flow XC show recaps.
Yeah, that's at the top of the hour, so
Yeah.
don't go far on Facebook. See you guys.
Turn it off. We're going to turn it off right now. We still live?